Shalom, giving all praise to Yahweh Bashem Yahushua Bashem Kakodash. And I'm going to entitle this video, Proof the Romans are Edomites. And this is from sources from the Talmud. Anyway, I put in the word Edom in Google, and it sent me to this particular page, which I'll leave in the description box. I'm not going to read all the information, but it goes into Edom, their history, their beginnings, their religion, their name in the Hebrew. Anyway, I scrolled down to classical Idumea, which I didn't read too much of that, because I said I was going to read the next section, which was religion, or the religion of the Edomites. Anyway, and I'm gonna see where this is gonna go. Any precepts come to mind, I'll bring them out or I'll quote them. Anyway, it says here, the nature of Edomite religion is largely unknown before their conversion. Oh, I didn't even see that. Before their conversion to Judaism by the Hasmoneans, which are the Maccabees. If you put the cursor on Hasmonean, it says, which we already know or should know, it says the Hasmonean dynasty was a ruling dynasty of Judea and surrounding regions during classical antiquity, between C, the C stands for circa, and circa means around that time. 140, 145, 142, 139, 138. I'm talking about the year. It says between circa 140 and circa 116 BCE. BCE used to mean, it was an acronym for before the Christian era. Now it's before the Common Era. AD simply means Anno Domini, which is the year of our Lord. And I believe they use the term now. Esau used the term because he wants to get rid of the spiritual religious connotations. So BCE means before the Common Era, and now instead of using the acronym AD, Anno Domini, they refer to it as CE, which is Common Era. And the difference between the BCE and CE is actually the birth of the Lord. It says the dynasty ruled Judea semi-autonomously from the Seleucids, which goes back to Antiochus Epiphanes. He came from the Seleucid dynasty from 110 BCE, with the Seleucid Empire destroyed the destiny. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go into a little bit more of this. It says a Hasmonean dynasty. I'm not going to read this whole thing because there's a lot in there. But what I wanted to get out of that is, okay, I got the last word was disintegrating the dynasty, which is the Seleucid dynasty, or this Seleucid Empire was a Hellenistic state in Western Asia that existed from 312 BC to 63 BC. It was found by Seleucus the first Nicator, following the division of the Macedonian Empire, Alexander the Greek, established by Alexander the Greek, or Great. After receiving Babylonian in 321 BC, Seleucus expanded his dominion. There's more, you can read more on it. And as a matter of fact, let me come back. See, this is leading me to other places. Anyway, it says the Hasmonean dynasty, which is the dynasty made famous by the Maccabees, was a ruling dynasty of Judea and surrounding regions during classic antiquity. Let me go right to where I left off. It says the Hasmonean dynasty during that time period was the disintegration of the Seleucid Empire. The dynasty became fully independent, expanded into the neighboring regions of Samaria, Galilee, Itoria, Perea, and Idumea. So they went back down into the land of Idumea because they had roots there. So that proved that the Antiochus Epiphanes, they say that he was Assyrian. He was not Assyrian. He was based in Syria. Just like, no, it's no different than Philip of Macedonia being a Macedonian or from Macedon. They're from either one of two places, the land of Edom, which is Mount Seir or Petra, or the Caucasus Mountains, because there was a split with Esau. So you got clowns like Ron Dalton that or others like him. When Edom is brought up, they'll say, oh, well, Edom, that's where Edom dwelt, in that land, that region there. What people don't understand is the Fertile Crescent, the Levant, which is like triangle of the Middle East, covering Ur of the Chaldees, covering Iran, Iraq, that whole Israel, Moab, Ammon, not quite Egypt. It's kind of west of Egypt, or so-called Africa. That was Esau, Moab, Israel, all those different nations. What did they do through the years? They didn't stay in their lands. They moved on. They moved on. The Chinese, the Japanese, the Koreans, they go back to Moab. And there's a scripture on that, which I'm not going to go into. Anyway, it says Edom was an ancient kingdom. Right. Why was it an ancient kingdom? Because it goes back during the time of Abraham. Edom was a grandson. I'm sorry, a great grandson. I'm sorry, a grandson of Abraham. So Edom, is Edom a Shemite? You're damn right he's a Shemite. So if a so-called Jew points at you and says that, oh, you're anti-Semitic, then what do you say to them? You say, well, I'm Semitic too. How can I be anti-Semitic when I'm a Semitic? And I said, You are Semitic as well, but you're a Semitic Edomite. And them so-called Jews know about Edom. I spoke to so-called Jews, Hasidim, whatever, those Orthodox so-called Jews, and I asked them about Esau and Jacob, and they know about the story of Esau and Jacob. And they're saying that it's descend from Jacob, and Esau was the bad one. I'm surprised they're not calling us Edomites. Anyway, it says Edom was an ancient kingdom in Transjordan, located between Moab to the northeast and Arabah to the west, and the Arabian Desert to the south and east. Most of its former territory is now divided between Israel and Jordan. Edom appears in writing sources relating to the late Bronze Age. So let me finish reading. It says, Idumea, the rulers took the title Basileus, which means it means king, emperor, ruler. Some modern scholars refer to this period as an independent kingdom of Israel. That's when Israel received its independence. So let me come back. Let me come back to Edom. Under Wikipedia, it says religion. It says the nature of Edomite religion is largely unknown before the conversion to Judaism. The conversion to Judaism by the Hasmoneans, because it was the Hasmoneans, a key person or figure was John Hyrcanus, that forced them Edomites to follow the ways, the laws, statutes, and commandments. So when they did that, and this is before the Kagan going north of Israel up into Europe, up into the Caucasus. The Kagan had, which is the king of Esau at that time, he had ordered his people, the Edomites, to convert to Judaism, meaning to follow the laws, statutes, and commandments of the scriptures. And then you had one group of them that broke off and they follow Islam. That's why in Turkey, which were Edomites, the predominant religion of Turkey is what? Islam. Look it up. The predominant religion of the so-called Jews is what they call Judaism. And it said that they were converted, changed over. So through the years, as they taught their children that they were Israelites, or taught them the so-called religion of Judaism, they began to say that they began to identify themselves with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And it's right here in your common history. You don't have to go. Hey, back in the day, you know, myself and other apostles, when we used to put things together, like I remember we did a breakdown years ago, back in the 90s, of Daniel, the 11th chapter. We broke the whole chapter down because High Priest Ariah never broke it down, because our High Priest Ariah didn't know to break down. And that's why you see these other One West camps, they don't go into Daniel, the 11th chapter. Largely because they don't know, and we don't go into it because it's Daniel 11th chapter took place already. There's no future. There's not one iota or one piece of information in Daniel 11th chapter that we can apply to today. Now, if somebody does that, he doesn't understand prophecies. See, what these Christians are beginning to find out is that they're coming to us to learn the prophecies. We should be known as a prophetic group because we're telling you who you are and what's going to happen to you. For example, the Edomites. You're the Edomites and your future is this. We're the Israelites and our future is that. America's Babylon and the future of Babylon is this. So reading on, it says that these Edomites were converted to Judaism by the Hasmoneans. Epigraphical evidence suggests. They're saying, well, we don't know how true. No, it's true. The Edomites were converted. That's in the Josephus. It says that the national god of Edom was Quas, which is a Hebrew word spelled Kwa-wa-I. I'm sorry, Kwa-wa-sa. Quas. Also known as Quash, Kosh, Kos, Quas. Since Quas is invoked in the blessings and the blessings formula in letters and appear in personal names found in ancient Edom. So you have a picture of a god or goddess in Israel Museum known as Quas, and that image, if you put it up in English, you would spell it Q-A-U-S, or you would say Q-A-U-S, the god of Edom. Now, if you go to this page, which I'm going to leave in the description box, and you scroll down to religion and you see the picture, you see an image with somebody with a long face and a big nose. And if you take a side view of this picture, this statue or this bust looks just like this statue head looks just like Barry Manilow. So really, the chief Edomites are these so-called Jews today with the big noses, the big schnozolas. Anyway, it says, let me read on. It says, as close relatives of other Levantine Semites, that word Levantine goes back to the word the Levant. They may have worshipped such gods as El, which is Allah, Baal, Quas, and Asherah. The oldest biblical traditions place it says Yahweh, which is Yahweh, supposed to be Yahweh. Now, when you looked at it briefly, it says Yahweh, it should say Yahweh, was the national god of the kingdom of Israel, Samaria, and Judah, with origins reaching at least to the early Iron Age and apparently to the late Bronze Age. In the oldest biblical literature, he is a storm and warrior deity and leads the heavenly army against Israel's enemies. And what Esau does, he puts our power in a box. Oh, that's that God. That's the God of the Israelites. It says, as the deity of southern Edom. Now, at one time, the Edomites worshiped our power. But why? Because Abraham did. And Edom, the Edomites, or Edom, was a Hebrew. He was a Hebrew, Semitic Hebrew. So what God is he going to worship? Now there was some other information. If I find it, I'll bring it up, where they no longer wanted to serve Yahweh, so they pretty much made up their own god, which is a devil with a big nose looking like Barry Manilow. It says it may have originated in Edom, Seir, Teman, and Sinai, before being adopted in Israel and Judah, which is a damn lie. There is a Jewish tradition. Now listen at this. There is a Jewish tradition stemming from the Talmud. The Talmud. Let me look up the word. Let me change gears and look up the word Talmud or Talmud, as King Marshall would say, Talmudi. He said, if you look at the Talmudi. Anyway, let me open up another tab here. Okay, the Talmud. The Talmud is a central text of rabbinic Judaism. Remember, Judaism is a religion. They took the law, statutes, and commandments and made it into a religion. So these so-called Jews are not Jews. They're people that call themselves practicing the law, statutes, and commandments. And the primary source of Jewish religious law and Jewish theology. Let me get some more information. The Talmud has two components. The Mishnah, circa 200, a writing of compendium of rabbinic Judaism, oral Torah, and a Gemara, circa 500, I don't know if that's 500 AD, and elucidation of the Mishnah and related Tanakh writings that often ventures onto other subjects and expounds broadly on the Hebrew Bible. So this is a book that has nothing to do with the scriptures. So now let's come back over here. But they have some history in the book. It said, let me read that again. It said, there is a Jewish tradition stemming from the Talmud, which they put their own book together, that was based upon the scriptures, based upon the laws, and based upon oral tradition. It says, and remember, these people go all the way back to the time of the Maccabees. It says that the descendants of Esau, because they no longer, the so-called Jew no longer defines himself as being an Edomite. They believe that they're Jews based upon John Hyrcanus, converting them to follow the law, statutes, and commandments. It says that the descendants of Esau would eventually become the Romans. Let me read that again. There is a Jewish tradition stemming from the Talmud that the descendants of Esau would eventually become the Romans, and to a large extent all Europeans. Did y'all hear that, man? Let me read that again. It said there is a Jewish tradition stemming from. This is why they demonize us, man. Because it is truth. Truth, man. If you get hit with the truth, people have committed suicide over the truth, man. You have dudes come home from a hard day work, and they see their woman getting popped by some dude. Might be a white boy. Find out that his white wife is getting popped by a Jake. And what do a lot of them do? They commit suicide. Now, I came up and grew up with certain Edomites whose women left them, and them motherfuckers committed suicide, man. And their weapon of choice or their instrument of choice could be a 9mm, a 22, a rifle. Not a rifle, because it's hard to hold to your mouth. And they would put the gun in their mouth and point it to their brains and blow their brains out after their women left them. So let me read that again. See, this is what Esau should be doing. They should be thinking about jumping off a goddamn 100-story building, because the truth is fucking them up. Instead of them calling us a truth group or a prophetic group, because what are we known as? Especially GMS. We known as a prophetic group. It said there is a Jewish tradition meaning it was spoken down from generation to generation, that they said, oh, you know, the Edomites, the Romans came from Esau, and eventually to all Europeans. It said there is a Jewish tradition stemming from the Talmud, that the descendants of Esau would eventually become the Romans, and to a larger extent all Europeans. Wow. You know what I'm going to do? Let me go to the footnotes. The footnote down here was at 62 and 63. And these are the footnotes. These are the sources. 62 is, did the Edomite tribe Migdal found Rome? That's an actual book, which I'll go into later. It says, did the Edomite tribe Migdal found Rome? 63. Footnote 63. Edomites, in rabbinical sources, the word Edom was a code name for, oh my goodness, they're going to cut this video. As soon as y'all watch this video, download this video, man, or get the information. It says Edomite, this is footnote 63. Edomites, in rabbinical sources, this is what the rabbis teach. What are the rabbis? The masters, the one that teach the other so-called Jews. Edomites, in rabbinical sources, the word Edom was a code name for Rome. And the reason why they call themselves Romans, after Romulus, the brother of Remus. Wow. Let me come back here. Okay, where am I at? Okay, let me read that again. It says, Josephus states that, oh, I didn't even get to that part. Excuse me. Let me come back up. It says, matter of fact, let me go to footnote 61. Okay, that doesn't say too much. Let me go back to it. I didn't put this together. This is not my information. It says, let me read that again. There is a Jewish tradition stemming from the Talmud that the descendants of Esau would eventually become the Romans. Now, in the footnote, it says the code name for Edom is Rome, and to a large extent, all Europeans. It goes on to say, Josephus states that Costoboros appointed by Herod, which Herod is an Edomite. So when this clown vocab Malone says, oh, the Edomites were done away with, and a couple of them Christians referenced, what was that? It was either I believe it was First Maccabee 5 or Second Maccabee 5. I hadn't read it in a long time, and it said how first it has to be First Maccabee 5. But I'm not going to read it. You can read it on your own. It says how the Maccabees came against Edom and slaughtered them and burnt down their towers and burnt a lot of them, you know. And they'll use that vocab in his crew. They'll use that to say, see, the Edomites were done away with. So what do you come back with? Well, where did Herod come from? Where did the Herodian dynasty come from, which are clearly Edomites? As a matter of fact, in case anybody gets stupid, I'm going to actually go to it. So we're not a hate group, we're a truth group. Okay, let me see what it says here. Okay, Esau is trying to be slick over here. I don't see the word Esau or Edom. Yeah, these devils, boy. They don't even want to use the word Esau or Edom. Bear me for a minute. Okay, here it is. If you go to Herod the Great, we're gonna look like Donald J. Trump. Anyway, it says, let me go down here. It says, upon Herod's death, the Romans divided the kingdom among 3 of his sons and his sister. What is that? Archelaus became Ethnoch and Judea, Samaria, and Idumea. Okay, it doesn't tell you that he's an Edomite. Doesn't tell you that he's an Edomite. Okay, let's go down here to biography. Okay, it says, it is generally accepted that Herod was born around 73 BCE in Idumea, which is the land of Edom, south of Judea. However, some authors think he was born in about 72 to 71 BCE. He was the second son of Antipater the Idumean, a high-ranking official under Ethnoch Hyrcanus II, and Kypros, a Nabatean Arab. Herod's father was by descent an Edomite. So if Herod's father, which is Antipater, was an Edomite by descent, what was Herod? An Edomite. I mean, we already know this. It says, let me come back to this, religion of Edom, right? It says, Josephus states that the Costoboros, appointed by Herod to the governor of Idumea. Why was he appointed to be the governor of Idumea? Because he's an Edomite. And Gaza, were descendant from the priests of the Cols, whom the Idumeans had formerly served as a god. Let me see, let me get a little bit more here. Except for an archaeological text that may well be Edomite, reflecting on the language, literature, and religion of Edom. See Victor Sassoon, an Edomite, a Jobin text with a biblical Jobin parallel. Zeitskarif Sferde, I'm not even going to try to read that. Well, that was a book during the time of Berlin in 2006. But it's right there, man. So you Edomites, you are to no longer call us a hate group. We're not a hate group. We're a truth group. You can call us a truth group or a prophetic group, or you can call us the Israelites. You can take off the black because we're not black. Black is void of color. We have color. We're different shades of brown. But anyway, there you have it. And I'm going to say shalom.